but I want you to know that it's all connected to the same thing. And that is, if you're going to create this illusion of prosperity for all of these years, you have to suppress the canaries in the gold mine. You can only manipulate a market over a long period of time by pushing it in the direction that it is going. And forever, for our lifetimes, the US dollar, that was the place to be in every single respect. But not only have we completely mismanaged the world reserve status and weaponized the dollar and told the world we're going green, look at what we're doing inside the country. There's no unity anymore. We are not a unified country. We are not a united country the way we were after World War II with our backs to the wall after the Great Depression. We rose because of our respect for our authority. We didn't have lawlessness in all of our cities. We didn't have visceral hatred where you're defined by the person you voted for last election. We could mutually disagree and still love your brother-in-law or your friend and say, yeah, you know what? I love you, man. Even though we don't agree on that, that doesn't work anymore. I go to Thanksgiving, my wife says, not a damn word. Do not say a damn word when we go to dinner tonight. It's like everything is changing. On top of that, we have a country that is 65% paycheck to paycheck, 45% paycheck to paycheck, making over $100,000. The largest amount of credit card debt, over $1 trillion. For the first time, we added another 400 million. What's the number? I got to give you the right number. I don't want to speak out of turn. We added more debt to credit cards just this last few weeks. I wrote it down. I'll find it here real quick if I can. If not, I guess it doesn't really matter. But we added more money to credit card debt than at any time in history. We have a $17 trillion public debt. We have record. We have a record student debt of $1.6 trillion, which, by the way, is the largest asset of the United States government. The largest asset. 40% of our assets are student debt. And why would they be doing all of this? Because we have 150 plus trillion in debt. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, government, military pensions. These are all the off-balance sheet items that amount to over 150 trillion, and we have 5 trillion in assets, according to the U.S. government, with the largest asset being student debt. We are on track right now to surpass 50 trillion by 2023, according to the U.S. government. That means we're spending $5.2 billion a day in debt. And so when you look at all of these numbers, where our national debt right now is 33.7 trillion, and we added a $500 billion in just the month of October, and it took nearly 200 years to do the first $500 billion. This is why they want to blow up the system and issue a new, to reset the system. 1 trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. How the hell do you ever pay that off? You don't. So you blow it up, you reset, you come in with a new CBDC, and you point to a villain that destroyed it all for you, and it is the loss of the petrostatus, and all of these countries that are uniting, finding safety in numbers against the West, that will be the villain. And you don't have to then fall on the sword if you're the Fed for your brain-dead monetary mismanagement, monetary policy and mismanagement of the world reserve currency. So I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but I want you to know that it's all connected to the same thing. And that is, if you're going to create this illusion of prosperity for all of these years, you have to suppress the canaries in the gold mine. That's gold and silver. And there are consequences for that. And those consequences are that all of the suppression that we have done over the last several years is being met with, okay, great, we'll stand for delivery by the rest of the world. And that is why you are seeing record amounts of gold acquisition and silver acquisition and aluminum acquisition and all of the rare earth metals and all of the industrial metals, all of the things that you need are being accumulated by all the players who realize that's exactly what you need to build a war chest going forward. And this will all impact gold and silver. And even though we haven't seen it yet, I do believe that when it happens, it will happen in a very, very, very immediate fashion. You could argue the little by little by little by little by little is right in front of us right now. If you open your eyes, the all at once moment, well, we're not there yet. But I do think when it happens, it won't catch your listeners by surprise, but the majority of the public in this country will be blindsided by a Randy Johnson 105-mile-an-hour fastball to the head, and they won't see it. Just like if you follow baseball and you remember Randy Johnson, he threw a pitch and it hit a bird, a poor pelican or a seagull or whatever the hell it was, pigeon, flew by unsuspectingly, didn't see Randy throw the ball, and it exploded, literally exploded. And you know, Randy Johnson threw 100 miles an hour. Well, I equate that to the majority of the public in this country. They're standing in the batter's box with Randy Johnson. He's going to throw a 105-mile-an-hour fastball, and they're blindfolded, and they don't see what's coming. That's what I see happening. And so all of these things, the numbers and all the things that don't make sense, misdirection is a very common theme. The art of war. Beat your opponent without throwing a punch. And the people pulling the strings understand the greatest tool of misdirection is price. You want to create a perception of reality, do it with price. And then it allows you, because of the leverage, it allows you to have your way with those commodities without anybody noticing. So yeah, the price is not indicative of the demand or the deliveries at that upper level, and it's not indicative of the supply and the price and premium at this level yet, but it will, and I'm very, very convinced of that.
And one thing you'll notice here that Andy has not given a date or a time for this to occur, because no one really knows, and there's so much involved in it. And like you said, it's a little by little by little. One thing I've noted is that the dollar's status, reserve status around the world, it was for a while, for a long time, over 60, well over 60%. Now it's down to about 58% for all transactions as far as foreign exchanges and the like. So it's whittling away. The de-dollarization is occurring, but now but it's also not going to be taken out anytime soon, more than likely. And the dollar is still the strongest. It is the cleanest of dirty shirts in the laundry pile.
Yes, that's right.
And so with that being said, you know, one thing I think that a lot of my viewers are frustrated about, and that is some of these commentators, and you mentioned a couple of them, you know, that, you know, they say, okay, well, you know, this is going to be happening, or make some ridiculous claim, you know, about this or that. And so I just want to try to push back against that, or just be balanced in the view, because we don't know. What you're talking about could happen in 2030. It could happen in 2050. Some of these people that are watching this interview right now, they may not be around at those times. You know, who knows? We just don't know. We are dealt with what we've got in front of us. Silver right now, as we record this video, is it's hanging on to $22, but you know, who knows? And so somebody tomorrow may have to sell their silver for some reason. I always encourage people to have some cash on hand so they don't have to sell their silver. We did talk about gold, and I appreciate you bringing the gold market up, and you discussed what I wanted to talk about, central banks buying gold. You know, the key is, folks, is that, you know, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of reasons to question, and I've become more skeptical about what's going on. I used to trust some of the three-letter agencies. Now I call them the chefs at the Cook the Books Club. I don't like to have that attitude, because you know, you want to trust some of these supposed nonpartisan agencies, but they don't exist anymore. And maybe they never have. Maybe I was just gullible for so long. Andy, thank you so much. This has been eye-opening. There was a lot I didn't get a chance to really talk a little bit about some of what you had discussed here, but I want people that are watching this, post your comments down below. And whether you agree or disagree, I want to hear it all. This is an open forum. I want to press upon you, the viewer, be realistic about silver. It's not going to go to the moon anytime soon. And when it does happen, like I said, it may be too late for many people, as Andy said here. And a lot of us, I think a lot in this community will be blindsided as well. Why will they be blindsided? Because we have been cried wolf for so long by some of these people have been saying, hey, you have until this date, and then it's going to just boom, you know, it's going to go to the moon. And that's not what Andy's saying. That's not what I'm saying. So the thing is take all this stuff and consider all aspects. We don't know what the time frame for any of this stuff is. But one thing is for sure, one thing that I've always advocated, and I think Andy will agree with me on this, is to have silver, hold on to it, buy it when you can afford it, based off of your own budget. Do some dollar cost averaging as you purchase it. Same thing with gold, and have realistic expectations about it. You do that, you be prepared not only with precious metals, but in all aspects. Andy talked about other commodities as well too. We each can accumulate commodities: toilet paper, tampons, shampoo, deodorant. Buy those things. Water, ammunition. There's so many different ways to prepare, and we should all do that. So there
Amen.
you go.
Could completely agree. And you know, I'd love to come back on. I'd love to talk to your listeners. I'd love to do a live stream Q&A. I love the pushback. I want to look. I come from a place where if you don't listen to other people's point of views, you never grow, and you learn more and more about less and less till you focus everything on nothing. You learn everything about nothing. That's not what I want. I want to be able to, to help as many people as possibly can. And one of the things I will just simply tell you that I come from nothing. My company started on a wing and a prayer from nothing. 33 and a half years ago, almost 34 years ago. And I just want people to know that there doesn't have to be, you can have very, very good intentions and want to run a good business. Capitalism and good intentions do not have to be mutually exclusive. I say all of this stuff because I believe it. We've done $9 billion in sales. I don't need to do this. I don't need to put myself out there. I've done this for a very long time, a whole career. And I don't need to sit and come on YouTube and put myself in front of the public, but I want to because I think it's very important because there aren't a lot of people speaking the truth. You are, and some of the other commentators are. And you're right. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world when people put dates out. But I do believe in mathematics. I do believe in old school logic. I do believe in economics. And when you apply mathematics, economics, with a sprinkling of old school logic, everything I have ever talked about or our company has ever talked about in over 30 years has come true. All of it. Never, with the exception of the bricks, which I started talking about independently almost 4 years ago on the 1,300 YouTube videos I've done. It's well documented. I was talking about this in 2019, the Belt Road, the BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the de-dollarization, gold is tier one. All of these things it's been all I talk about. And I'm kind of boring. I'm redundant. I say the same thing, but it is to me the only thing that matters. But I have never come out and said a specific time. I speak in terms of mathematics and in terms of probabilities. There are no guarantees in this world, but there is a high probability that we see problems with the U.S. dollar over time, and the ramifications of that in a country that has created as much debt as we have, as much leverage as we have, there's going to be hell to pay, I think. And that is why you do prepare. That is why you do own a gun. That is why you do have water and food and things that you need, including dog food and, to your point, tampons and toilet paper and all of the things. And it's funny because I look at things right now as a roll of toilet paper. I've said this publicly before, where things my whole career spun very slowly, like the fresh roll of toilet paper. But as it gets closer to the cardboard, it starts spinning faster and faster and faster and faster. And I think there are a lot of things that are agitating the status quo that could accelerate the status quo. But you're right. I have no idea when it happens, but I would say the probability of some of these things happen grow by the day. And when you look at who the two lead economic advisors are to the Biden administration, one wants to get rid of all the banks and go modern monetary theory directly from the Federal Reserve, central bank digital currency, which was written into executive order, and the BIS said every country has to have one by 2025. And the other one wants to get rid of the world reserve status of the U.S. dollar, has openly advocated for it on several publications. So by weaponizing the dollar and telling the Saudis, hey, we know that you've been the reason we're the world reserve, but we're going green, we're not going to need you anymore. You have to wonder, is it coincidence? Is it coincidence that gold was reclassified tier one and now all the banks are gobbling it up and repatriating it, removing the counterparty risk? Is it a coincidence that all the exchanges are being bled dry? Are all of these things coincidence, or is it just something a little bit bigger? And that's why I think the logic part of it makes me believe that the eventuality, the probability grows by the day. The mathematics of the fact that we are 150 trillion in debt with 5 trillion in assets, rising interest rates, and 1 trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago, and we have a massive amount of debt, public and private and government. There are so many things that make me believe the eventuality, the inevitability is there, but I don't know when it will be. Could be tomorrow, could be 5 years from now, maybe never. But I will tell you, in my soul, in my gut, it's enough to make me get up every morning and sit in front of all of you, the 100,000 people that are on your list. Or when I did an interview with Robert Kiyosaki, 1 million views, or Michelle McCory of Kitco, 1.5 million views. I'm out there telling the world my name, my face, and what I believe. I try to do it in a respectful manner. I'm not casting stones or saying that any of this is written in the sand. I'm just saying that there are a lot of probabilities that point to gross mismanagement of the privilege of being the world reserve currency, and at the same time, the worst possible mix, the fact that this country has lost its unity and is divided the way that it is in so many respects. We're not prepared for what's coming. I hope I'm wrong. I got 3 kids. My youngest is 16 years old. I hope to God I'm wrong. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep saying it like I see it. And if I've inspired one person in your channel to do a little digging, is gold really tier 1? What about the Belt Road Initiative, the largest infrastructure project in human history? What about the BRICS and all the countries that have joined? What about all the mutual deals that have been settled outside the dollar? What about the fact they've been talking about a world reserve currency to challenge the dollar coming from the BRICS, backed by currencies? None of it's happened yet. Some of it has. Not really materialized yet. Not reading it in the Western media yet. But you can see you're hearing more and more and more and more about it. When I started talking about it in 2019, no one was talking about it. So little by little by little by little, then all at once. I'd love to come back on and talk with you some more, pick up where we left off, do a Q&A or a live stream. I'm not hiding. I'd like to get pushback. I want people to tell me how they feel. And I'm just honored to be on this show with you. And thank you for letting me ramble the way I did. I know I did most of the talking, and I appreciate that. Next time, I'll let you do most of the talking, and I'll just answer your questions. But if you'll have me back, count me in. You don't have to ask twice. I'd love to pick up where we left off. And really, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it very, very much.
Well, it was an honor to have you, sir, and I very much appreciate it. You get people thinking on the channel, so I very much appreciate you taking the time. So I want to thank all of you for watching as well, too, and a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching, and I encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.